Welcome to a special edition of eYe Education. I'm your host, Ed Lecious, and we're continuing our series with the candidates for the Nashua Board of Education in the November 4th municipal election. And joining us for this program is incumbent school board member Heather Raymond. Welcome.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me again.
Also state representative.
Yes.
And it seems like only yesterday we were here doing this for the first time, and I said, well, why are you doing this? And I guess now that you've done it, you've got a term under your belt, was there anything that you didn't expect or that surprised you when you got on the board and started getting your feet wet?
That's a great question. So I've been on the board now this is my 8th year. So it's been a while, but the learning curve is really steep. I don't think that, I certainly didn't realize all of the things that the board does or how limited the board is. So one of the things that they tell you when you go to training for new members is that the board has one employee, and that's the superintendent. And so all of our votes are essentially to tell the superintendent to act or not act. But then all of the rest of it is the superintendent managing the district. And so that's not something that I really understood until I got on the board.
And you've had quite a few significant accomplishments. All the big contracts are pretty much settled. And the suit with respect to the ELL program has been dismissed, and you've gotten that under control. So things are looking pretty good right now.
I think we're in a state where things have gotten settled. You know, they've settled down quite a bit. When I first got on the board 8 years ago, there was talk about privatizing custodians, and then we went through COVID, and we had the Department of Justice coming down on us for our not having enough support for our English language learners, and the board has really focused on each of these issues to really try and solve them. When it comes to the English language learners, it's not like we've solved it and it just goes away now. We continue to need to have to put resources there to meet every student where they're at. And that's not going to change. But I think that we're in a good place where we have mostly the appropriate supports that our kids today need.
And you've also closed the revolving door in the superintendent's office, which to me, I think last time and even the first time you ran was an important thing, because there was no consistency at the top for various reasons. And now that seems to have kind of calmed. And I had Dr. Andrade on recently, and he just said that you guys have given him another 3-year contract, and I think that is good for the district, and you all should be commended for that.
I think so, and so he just signed another 3 years, which is good. He's also been working with community members on a new strategic plan, which will have the first draft presentation at tonight's school board meeting. So I'm looking forward to seeing that and to seeing a vision of what Nashua looks like, or what he would like it to look like post-COVID, as we move into hopefully a more stable period of time.
I know you weren't quite sure initially if you were going to seek another term, and what made you go and put your name in again?
So the truth is, I really love it. I like being engaged in what's going on in the community. I love being engaged in what's going on in the schools. And there are still things that I think that Nashua as a district has to work on, and I want to make sure they get done. So part of my work at the State House is on the Child and Family Law Committee, and a couple years ago a bill came to us about restraints and seclusions in our schools. And I learned that Nashua has the highest rates of restraints and seclusions. And that led me down this rabbit hole of, well, why is that, right? And part of that is because we have intensive needs programs where we keep kids in district where other districts might send them out. But it's launched a whole process where Regan Lampier and I wrote a policy last year for Nashua that requires the superintendent to review every single time a child is subject to restraint and seclusion in the schools. And so that report should be coming out for the last year. And the superintendent is already changing things. He's put in some more professional development. He's put in some more supports for our staff and our students. And I'd like to see where that goes so that we can continue to keep attention on this issue, as well as our English language learning students.
Going forward, what do you see as the critical issues in the next 2 to 3 years?
I think budget, and I'm sure everybody has said that.
Number one.
The number one issue is budget. This past year, our special ed costs were $2-something million more than we had anticipated. Transportation has gone up $2 million. And I expect that to continue. Finance is reviewing every month our contract services because we can't find enough people to do some of the special education interventions. Partly because there just aren't enough of them out there, partly because we're not competitive with Massachusetts. So our special ed costs are rising much faster than inflation and much faster than the state could possibly keep up with. So how does that impact us as taxpayers? And how does that impact our students and our community's children to make sure that they have what they need? I think solving that puzzle will be the big challenge over the next couple years.
Would you say, or would it be fair to say that a majority of our special education are court mandated and court ordered, or is it fairly split?
I don't think I understand what you mean by court order.
Well, some of the special ed that we have to go out of district for in the past have been court ordered for the child to receive the services that they needed.
So yes, so we do have some students who are placed outside of here. We actually have kids who are placed into our Brentwood Academy, our alternative high school, from other districts because of court processes that are happening outside the district. But I would say that the vast majority of our students who are receiving special education services are doing so because they've had testing that determined that they need these services. They need speech and language services. They need, education help. They need all sorts of things. We have a deaf and hard of hearing program in Nashua. So it's now over 20% of our students have individualized education plans.
There's currently a study being done on the facilities, the school facilities in Nashua, and the report will come out later this year. And it could recommend closing some schools, or it could say that putting money into some of the older schools to bring them up to code is the way to go. Are you open to supporting the recommendations of that going forward, or? I know it's a tough question, not knowing what it's going to say, because it come out and say everything's fine, and unfortunately, that's not going to be the case.
It's not going to come out and say everything's fine. We know this. We have 20 buildings, and if we touch one every 3 years, that means there's 60 years that goes by when a school doesn't get renovated. So that creates costs. I know that the two high schools are reaching the lifespan of their roofs. That's $10 million each. We know that Mount Pleasant needs significant repairs. So I'm interested to see what the facility study says. They're also including grounds work, so like playgrounds and such. So I'm interested to see that. At the end of the day, I would rather invest in students and teachers than buildings. But my preference would be to balance the district. Because right now we have some schools that are more full and some schools that are less full. Just the idea of closing a school is not a pleasant one, but it's not off the table.
You talked about the increase in busing. There is a law that says we don't have to bus high school students. Has that option been looked at to try to save money, or because of the location of both the schools? Unfortunately, Nashua used to be a neighborhood walk to school, and that no longer exists today.
No longer exists.
Just because of the growth.
Right. I mean, I think we try to do that with the elementary schools as much as possible, but by the time you get to middle and high school, it's just not possible for it to be walkable for everybody. Right now, if you live more than 2 miles away from the school, you can get a bus pass in the high school. And our families are paying for those. They pay $65 a year for the bus passes. Now, each bus costs us about $80,000, so it's not the same. State law also requires that we provide busing K through 8 for all the schools. So we are also providing busing for the private and charter schools. So I think that there could be maybe some adjustments in bus routes, but I wouldn't support having all 4,000, high school students try and figure out how they're going to get to school. We certainly don't have the parking space, nor do I think that they all have access to transportation.
What would you say has been the most significant accomplishment during your 8 years on the board?
Oh, geez, that's a really hard question. I should have thought of an answer to that beforehand. It's a good one. I think the one that I am most excited, proud of, is the work that we have done on expanding the career and technical education at the high schools. Because I think that Nashua has, we tie with Wyndham for the most advanced placement courses. And then over the last several years, leading into COVID, we really invested in bringing back machining as a program at the high schools. And that's a career that pays really well right out of high school. We've instituted drone piloting. And again, kids who go through that could potentially get their pilot's license. There's a lot of job opportunities for people who know how to fly drones. And we've expanded some of the robotics and the algebra classes. And I think that these are real world solutions for kids to build on for their future.
Got a couple of minutes left here. Is there anything you want to say to the voters who are watching today, Heather, as to why they should vote for you on November 4th?
Well, I'm hoping that they vote for me because they've seen that over the last 8 years, we've really tried to pay attention to looking at the best interests of what our kids need while also balancing what the taxpayers need. And as a result, Nashua has the 10th lowest per pupil spending in the state. Our education property tax is well below the average. And so we're trying to give Nashua the best bang for their buck and to really prepare so that every kid, wherever they start, is able to graduate and have a plan post-graduation.
Well, I know you have nothing else to do. You're in the legislature, you're on the school board, you're a mom. So just want to thank you for, again, stepping up and going forward and seeking re-election, and wish you well on November 4th.
Thanks so much for having me.
Appreciate it.
Great.
We've been talking to Heather Raymond, member of the Board of Education. She's running for re-election. The election is on November the 4th. Make sure you get out and vote. And you've been watching a special edition of eYe Education. I'm your host, Ed Leicius. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.